Yet. All right, so we got the request for lower legs, shoulders, neck, and hips. That is pretty much everything, right? Guys, throw core in and we got the whole thing. All right. We're starting our time for once. Okay, we'll start with the lower legs request and get warmed up that way. So grab your block, purple block in the middle of the mat. Cork blocks at the top of the mat.
You'll be able to see, Sharon?
Yeah, I'll be fine. Thank you.
All right, and then start out with your hands on your cork blocks. I'm going to start out standing on top of your purple block. So the only reason we really use the purple block for the one under your feet is that it's just the 3 inches. It's shorter. So when we go to stretch your calf off the back of it, you can possibly reach the floor. You don't have to. All right, so we're going to start here. Bring your blocks right under your shoulders. Drop your chest down into your shoulder girdle. Top of the head is forward. Your chin is kind of lifted up into your own throat. Don't fully give yourself a double chin. Just keep that angle in the neck so cervical spine is flat. Bend your knees. Think of your hips trying to reach back behind the heels with a flat back. Good. All right, keep your toes curled over the front of your block for now, like you're grabbing the block with the feet, trying to activate your feet. And then keep sitting back. How far back can you sit without falling? Don't actually fall. It's not necessarily going to warm you up great. Maybe you can even tip your block up a little bit. Don't go crazy, but use your toes and try to actually pick your block up a little bit off the ground. So weird. What do we do here? All right, put your block back down. Okay, shoulders are back to engage the serratus, little muscles running along the ribs. And then hug your right hip back to straighten the leg. So it shouldn't be a close my hip, tuck the tail, and straighten up. It should be keep the back flat. How far back can you let your right hip go behind your block, behind your heel? I don't care if the leg goes straight. That'll get the stretch into the hip. Keep your shoulders back, top of the head forward. Belly lifts a little bit, just a touch. And then bend both knees. And then you're going to switch. Hug your left hip back. So think of spinning your heel in to your midline and your toes, left toes out to the left. And see if that doesn't help you hug your left hip back further. Bend right knee forward, right hip reaches forward as left hip reaches back. Shoulders back, chin up, middle abs a little lifted. Okay. And then go ahead and switch. Hug your right hip back. You should feel a sense of sort of rolling through the hips when you switch there. Good. And then both knees bend in between. Hug your left hip back. Keep toes curled. And then drop heels to the mat. See if you can wiggle the feet back just a little so your heels can drop below the level of the block. Just a little bit of calf stretch. If your heels drop below the block, you're starting to stretch the muscle in the back of the lower leg, right? Now same thing here, only this time, keep your toes a little lifted and spreading. Not too much. Don't fall off the back of your block. Then hug the right hip back. See how far back you can let your weight go. Your left hip has to hug forward, or your right hip can't go very far back. You'll fall off your block. Shoulders back, chin in, belly a little lifted out of the hip. Breathe. If you haven't started your breath yet, find it. Bend both knees as you pass through center, and then hug your left hip back. Think of that outer spiraling in the foot. Left heel in, left toes out. Ball of the foot grabbing your block and trying to turn it out. Switch, right hip doing the same. Ball of the foot grabbing block, trying to turn it out. Switch. Now you're going to roll back and forth in the hips. Keep the heels dropping below the block when you can. Low belly reaching back. Good. And then come to the front of the block. Toes off the front of the block. Ball of the foot on the ground. Toes on the ground. Heels on your block. And there should be a little bit of distance between your foot and the block, depending on how big your feet are. Okay, and then turn your heels a little bit out, just about a ½ inch. Okay, blocks are right under your shoulders. You should be able to drop chest down with neck long. Bend your knees to take your hips further back. How far back can your hips go? You want to be making a shelf. You want the knees to be above the feet if possible, so your hips are that far back. Then hug your right hip further back. Think heel in, toes out. Also lift the low belly a little. Now think heel out, roll to inner foot, reach the right sitting bone right more. Open that sitting bone. And then switch. Bend the knee, straighten left leg, left hip back. Think of rolling to the inner arch of your foot, the big toe, shoulders back, lift your middle abs a touch. And then bend. Now just go back and forth at your own pace. When one hip hugs back, the other one sort of hangs forward. Let your ribs move through the shoulder girdle as you go back and forth in your hips here. Try to bend the knees in between. Don't go through straight legs, both legs straight. Go through both knees bent. Find low belly sucking back. It's kind of a massage for the hips if you let them move past each other. Think of one sitting bone going forward while the other goes back, not hips staying stuck together and butt wagging. All right, keep the right leg straight. Roll to your inner foot a little bit. Bring your right block way out in front. Drop your right hip as far back as you can. Drop your head. Breathe. Keep your right heel, your right inner foot rolled in. Lift the outer foot. All the toes grab the mat and spread. And try to lift your toes off the mat. Keeping the ball of the foot on the mat. So it's not a flexion in the ankle, it's in the foot. And then suck the low belly back more on the right side. Bend the left knee, left hip more. Good. And then bend your right knee. Bring your right block back and switch. Left leg straightens, left block forward. Let your right shoulder drop a little bit. Maybe your ribs can come inside the right groin. Roll to the inner left foot. Spread the toes out. Try to lift them a millimeter off the mat. Suck your low belly back. Maybe you're even going to look under the left armpit. Got a little half twist there. Good. Hips back behind the heels as far as you can. Good. And then come back to center. Very nice. Turn your right toes out to the right side of your block. So your heels are both still on the block. Your feet make an L, perpendicular. Okay, drop your chest down into the shoulder girdle. Bend the knees out to the sides. Sitting bones apart. Back is flat, or maybe you can have a little upper back bend. Keep the knees open. See if you can bend and sit all the way down. If you feel like that's going to be too much in the knees, don't do it. Once you're all the way down, left knee right in between your blocks. Shift the weight forward a little bit. See if you can pick your heels up off the block. Nice. Good. Then bring your heels back down to the block. Do that again. Pick your heels up off the block. Keep your hips sitting as much as you can on the heels. Bring it back. Very good. One more time. Pick up the heels. Heels hug forward into inner foot magnet toward each other. I don't know if you can use magnet as a verb. Bring your hands up into prayer. Try to find your balance there. It is a different balance than what we've worked on. Elbows wide, serratus engaged. Lift your belly up out of the hips. Okay, think of knees closing toward each other a little. Hands back to your blocks. Bring your heels back to your block. Let the legs release. Lower legs too. Let the lower legs spill open across the upper leg. Shift your weight forward before you stand. Really come forward to your blocks. Your heels may even start to lift. Lean into your hands, then pick hips back up. That should have helped knees. Okay, bend the knees again. Chest dropping into shoulder girdle, but lift your middle abs a little. Keep the knees open. Keep the left knee bent. See if you can only straighten your right leg without changing much else. And then hug your right hip further back. Stay rolled into the inner foot. Bring your left or your right block a little forward. Should feel very long on that right side. Let the serratus disengage so the shoulder blade can slide up the ribs. Drop your head down so your neck's not engaged. Breathe. Notice if you're really crunching your left hip to your ear. Don't do that. Let it go. Good. Bend the right knee. Bring the block back. Straighten out the left leg, left hip. Good. Let the right knee hug forward just a touch and the left hip hugs back. But don't bring your shoulder to your hip on the right side. Keep those apart. Lift your belly a little, lift your ribs a little. Good. Now take your left hip further back. Keep your left big toe on the mat. Your toes spreading across the mat. Good. And then bend that knee. Now try to just go back and forth between those. Right leg straightens a bit, then bend. Left leg straightens a bit, then bend. Just feel that rolling through the hips that happens there. All right, keep that right leg straight, walk your blocks forward. Bring your left foot forward into a short Urdhva-Uttanasana. I'm going to back up on my mat a little bit so I don't come out of the camera shot. Okay. And then your blocks are past the foot a little bit. Get that up further here. You guys are good? Okay. All right, shift your weight into your front foot and go rolling to the outer arch of the front foot, so that front leg outward spiral, knee out, groin facing a little forward, and the right hip will drop a little forward. Okay, then just shift your weight back without bringing your left hip to the left ear. Keep the left hip rolled under you as you shift back. Okay, then shift forward. Your right hip should drop forward, and then shift back. Good. Do it again. Shift forward. Shoulder blades pull back a little bit. Feel your serratus. Pick your belly up into that. Reach the top of the head forward. Get longer. Good. And then shift your weight back. 2 more. Roll forward. Shoulder blades engage. Belly pulls out of that left hip. Think of spinning left heel in, toes out. Then at the same time, your outer hip hugs back, but your inner foot rolls down. Those go away from each other, like the outer hip is wrapping away from inner foot. Put a baby bend in your knee there, and you should feel that stretch come to the outer knee, too. Re-straighten the leg, roll it back. Stay in the right leg. Don't bring your left hip to the ear. Keep it under, meaning roll under you. Then bend the right knee. Keep all of the toes of the left foot flat on the mat. Keep pulling your left sitting bone back. Think of your tailbone actually coming away from the humerus, the upper leg bone. Okay, stay here. It's going to work the back leg. See if you can pick your back heel off your block, all from the foot. Suck your low belly back. Good. Top of the head forward. Bring your heel back down. Very nice, guys. Straighten the back leg. Shift your weight forward, but start by feeling serratus. So that means shoulders come away from ears, top of the head forward. Lift your belly a touch. Then when you come forward, feel like it's your ribs pulling forward. Right hip rolls forward, left hip rolls back away from ribs. Keep your weight in the left foot, come on the toes of the right. See if you can pick your right leg straight up. Good, very good. Keep your right hip aimed to the ground. Let's roll your right hip lower than the left hip, but keep your right leg reaching back. And then roll the right hip open. Good. Roll your right hip lower than the left, but keep your leg reaching back. Toes spreading, big toe reaching. And then roll it open. Good. Shift back as far as you can with left hip coming behind the left heel. Maybe you can bring your hands behind your blocks. Drop your head down toward the leg into an open standing split. Think of tipping forward further and further, like you're bringing your body back to the leg to help the pelvic bowl aim down to the floor so it's easy to pick leg up, tailbone up. Good. Now make sure you're not pulling that left hip up to your ear. Hug your left hip back. It'll bring your leg down a little. That's okay. Bring your arms back up. Reach the right leg back. Drop your right hip lower than the left, but keep leg in the air. Feel that stretch there. I want space between left pelvic bowl and the hip. So think of hugging your left hip back and right. Right leg's got to be willing to go a little right to get out of the way. Good. And then bring your right foot down. Put it back on the block with toes turned out again. Sit back into that right knee. This time, let's see how far back you can sit. You can bring hands back if you need to. Elbows wide. If that's too far, don't do it. If your stance is too short, it won't work. A lot of you have a stance that's too short. Bring it back. You want to try that? Bring your foot further forward. You got to have a leg's length. If you don't have your own leg length, you can't sit back. Right? If you have your own leg length, you can sit back. You can even let the toes lift. There we go. If you're shorter than a leg length, it's really awkward. There you go. Good. Very nice. If you're here with ease, you can wrap around the right leg and find a bind and pull the chest forward. If you're not having that, just come back up. Do one more roll through your hips and we'll meet you there. Unbind if you're bound. Bring it back up. Good. How we doing? Stop. Good job. All right. Keep the right heel on the block. Try to lift your left leg off the floor. You're going to push down into the blocks with the hands. Pick your ribs up into shoulder girdle. Suck the belly up. Left hip up and see if you can hover that leg. And then put it back down. One more time. Pick your ribs up into shoulder girdle. Top of the head forward. Suck the belly up. Shift weight to back hip. Lift up. And then step your left foot back to the block. Walk your blocks back under the shoulders. Good. And then let's turn your left toes out to the side, both feet turned out. Bend your knees, sitting bones back and apart. So you want your back to be flat, bring your blocks forward a little bit. You don't have enough distance. No more. No more yet. Now lean into your blocks more. Come forward, chest over. Now butt back, hips back. There we go. Make those two come apart. Good. All right, from here, a couple cat-cows. You're going to pick the ribs up into the shoulder girdle. Top of the head forward, suck the belly up. Then go the other way, starting with hips. Think pubic bone back, pelvic bone forward. Unfold the hips, drop the chest. And see how far you can sit the hips with a flat back. Try to lift and spread toes, but keep the index knuckle at least on the floor. And then see how far down you can sit like that. Good. Should feel a little difference between the hips here. Bring your blocks forward. Think of keeping your serratus engaged so you're pulling down with shoulders, hands into blocks. And see how far back you can sit your hips behind your block. Maybe even pick them up a little bit and then let them drop back down so they'll release more. Drop your head through your arms. Let your lower legs release. Spread and lift the toes. Then bring the toes back down. Open your knees more. Pull them apart. Good. Head comes up, chest comes up. Bring your blocks back. Suck the low belly back. Very lightly close knees forward to pull low belly back more. Bring hands to prayer. Elbows wide. Good. Keep the low belly sucked back. Bring your body weight forward by using core to lengthen you forward. Elbows open, shoulder blades a little forward, chin in, top of the head long. Good. Think of lifting just a little bit, pressing through the feet. Suck the belly in, and then let it come down. Good. One more time. Suck the belly back, elbows forward, shoulder blades engaged, lift up inside of that, and come back down. If you feel like your sitting bones are pulling you to lift you, that's not it. Last one. Think of the feet, pulling them out apart. Heels dropping down in your block, belly lifting up. See how high you can stand. If you cannot stand or you feel knees, you're going to stay. Bring hands to blocks, lean forward, sitting bones back. Weight in your hands to take it out of your knees. Good job. How are you?
It didn't come on my knees, right here.
That's work. That's a muscle. I don't feel sorry for that muscle. The joint I'll protect. The muscle can work. All right. How are we doing? No pressure in the inner knee? Okay, well that's good. We like that. All right, now let's take your left foot back behind you. Right foot is still the one out on the block. So I did not misspeak this time. Usually I do. Not this time, put the foot down. Good. Keep your right foot turned out, bend the knee out to the side. So both feet are turned out 45 degrees. A little odd. Pick up your left toes. See if you can drop your chest into shoulder girdle, bend both knees out to the side. Super strange squat. Good. Keep that right knee open, open the hip. Straighten your back leg. Try to lower the back heel first, then straighten the front leg more. Feel how that stretch runs outside the right knee. You can really roll the right leg out. Okay. Do it again. Bend the right knee out to the side. Chest drops down into shoulder girdle, bend the left knee up. It's like a, what is this, a fifth position in dance, or fourth position. Bend the sitting bones, or bend the knees more. Chest dropping. Don't let your hips curl under, or you're just tightening what we're trying to open. Good. Lower the left heel. And then straighten the right leg. Keep the right hip hugged back. So right hip should be further back than the left as you straighten the leg. And you should feel that stretch come up the outer leg, up the outer knee, the IT band area too. Okay, good. All right, let's go ahead and bring your right toes back. Put your right heel off the back of the block now. Okay. So your blocks are really close to the front edge of your purple block, maybe even with it. And then your left foot's going to step back. It's like a Parsville, it's short. It's not like a full warrior one. And you want to get your right heel to the ground. I want it to touch. If it doesn't, put your pranayama pillow there, put something there. Okay, so you have a boundary. Lift and spread your right toes. I want to open and fan, not pulling back as hard as you can. That is a different look. It's a reaching but spread. Okay, then roll to the outside of your right foot from the ankle. Totally circle the foot. That's going to stretch out here. Most of you have an overstretch there.
It actually goes all the way up.
It will.
Yeah.
You're tight. Let your hip roll open into it a little bit too. That'll deepen the stretch. So your right hip rolls back. In other words, right pelvic bowl comes away from right ribs. Everybody check this. Is the back of your head trying to stamp the ceiling? You're going to have a really sore neck later. Chin in, neck long. Think of your chin coming up into your own throat and the top of the head reaching forward, away from the hip that's reaching back. That'll also help you connect with your core a little bit. Good, now roll to the inside of the foot. Try to lift up the pinky side of the foot and put your big toe down on the block. Then roll your hips back, so your left hip is back. Your weight is in your left foot. Yeah. Now your hip will come to your ear a little. I'm letting you under there. Okay, then go the other way. Roll to the outside of the right foot a lot. Roll your right hip back, left hip forward. Big time outer foot. Okay. And then one more time. Roll to the left foot. Now this time I want you to think of lifting the inner arch of your left foot. So you're going to grab the mat with the toes and try to pick up that arch from the muscles in your foot. Then suck your left groin up into pelvic floor. Left low belly lifts a little. How far back can you sit into that left hip? Push with the right hands. Can you open your right toes and pick your right foot up from low belly? Low belly, low belly, low belly. Shoulders back, raise engage, and then put the foot back down. Good job. All right. Just straight rolling through the hips now. Roll to the inner arch of the back foot, outer arch of the front foot. Shift your weight forward. So automatically roll here. I put my 10-year-old in this shape and just tell her to shift her weight to the back foot, shift her weight to the front foot. If she's not squeezing sitting bones and interfering, which she won't be, then the hips just roll like this. They separate easily. They will move. Let your hips move. Stay back. Don't let the left hip come to the ear. Roll it under you. Bend your left knee a little bit. Pick up onto the toes. Then spin so that your heel faces straight back. All 5 toes are in the mat. Suck your belly back, ribs back. Shoulders away from the ears. Top of the head forward. Stomach lifts. Knees should be right next to each other. Front leg is straight, toes spreading. See if you can sit down a little deeper. Low belly sucking back. Serratus or down to help carry weight of ribs. Maybe you have to bring hands back in 10. Maybe you can just reach straight back. Roll shoulders back. Top of the head forward. Good. Fingers to the mat if they're not, so you can sit all the way down onto that heel. Okay, if your stance is not nearly long enough to sit back, you need a leg length in your stance to sit back. Okay, if you're sitting on the back foot, see if you can flex the front foot and lift it up. Suck the belly in. Good. If you're all the way back up, put the foot down. Maybe you can put the heel down, sit back under the heel, and bring your front leg up. Almost. Maybe got some people in that first position, got a little shaky going on.
Faking it.
Hands back down, foot to block if it's off. Okay, and how do we come out of this? You're going to use your hands if you feel like you have no lift from the knee. Bend the front knee, bring your blocks back, and then use blocks to get you that first foot. Then try to use the leg. If you don't need your blocks, maybe enough is just fingertips tented. Low belly sucking in, serratus down. Think of your low belly lifting inside ribs and meeting the serratus so they come into each other. Then activate the foot, press to pick up hips, and shift forward. Good. All right. Keep the right toes spreading. Bend the right knee. It's going to deepen that stretch in the calf a little bit. Keep the toes spreading. Bring your blocks forward. Can you shift your weight into the right foot with that big calf stretch? Bend the left knee in. If that's not going to happen with your heel on the ground, don't do it. You don't need to rip the calf muscle. Good. Everybody's there. All right. Extend your left leg back, but drop your left hip below the right. Spread your left toes out. Reach through those toes. Shoulders back. Shin in. Top of the head forward. Then roll the hip open. Bring your hips as far back as you can. You're going to have to drop your chest down or you're going to fall backwards because your toes are facing the ceiling. See if you can bring your right hand to the ground and open the chest toward me or well to the left. I guess that's not what's toward me. And see, maybe can you take your revolve? Half move here. Roll to your inner foot. Good job. All right, bring hands back to block. Very impressed. Bring your left foot to your block. If you do not feel a stretch in the back of your legs and lower legs, I'm amazed. Okay? Pick up your toes. Feet working. Did I say pick up your toes? I meant pick up your heels. Total opposite end of the foot. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Good job. Inner feet touch, and then roll to the outer feet. You're basically letting your feet sickle, but they're so active, you're not really endangering the outer ankle. And then bring your feet back in. One heel dropping to the mat. Let the heel settle, let the hips settle, let the belly drop. Then switch from high on toes. Bring other heel to the mat when it touches. Let your ribs release, let your hips settle. Good job. All right, step on your block. Bring the blocks forward. Toes off the front of the block. Bend your knees. Let's actually open the toes a little bit out to the corners. Bend your knees and sit down. It's a funny little Malasana. Good, yeah. Breathe. Okay, if this is not comfortable, you can either open the toes all the way out to the side to sit, or you can bring the toes all the way together to sit, whatever works. But find a place where you can rest. Sit back in your hips. Try to let your hips drop back. Knees come up toward the armpits if your knees are open. Drop your head down. Bend your elbows inside the knees. Try to get little. Try to get into a ball. Okay? Now in your ball, make space. Open the shoulders by pulling shoulders back. Serratus open. Knees open a little bit. Suck the belly back. Drop the head forward. Breathe. Keep the hips open, knees open. Think of your hips trying to go back behind your block further. How far back can you shift your hips? Low belly holding a little, low back releasing. And then bring the legs in. Bring your body up, shift your weight forward into your hands, then come up. That shifting the weight forward is really important. That was a good example. That was a good example. Good job, guys. All right. Keep your block straight if it's not. Okay. Toes are on the floor. Let's take your left toes out to the side. Ball of the foot on the floor. So now you've got that L. The front foot is parallel to the side of the mat. Back foot is parallel, turned out, parallel to the top of the mat. Bend both knees. Drop chest down into shoulder girls. Shoulders back. Again, check in with head. None of this. Not even a little. Chin up into your throat. Top of the head forward. If anything, let your head hang, but don't let the shoulders go. Okay, drop sitting bones back further. How far behind the block can you go? Good. Go ahead and start bending knees deeper. If you're done sitting down, don't sit. If you think you can sit, sit down. Right knee in front of you, right inside the block. Suck the belly back. Bring it back forward. You can bring your blocks closer if you want to be more upright. Can you pick your heels up off the block? Let your hips rest. One sitting bone to each heel. Good. And then lift your belly inside the rib cage. So think of sucking a little bit up out of the pelvic bowl, and then let your heels drop back down and pull into the block with your feet. Think of lifting toes, but not the ball of the foot. Do it again. Lift up. That's it. Now hug your knees and suck your belly back. There you go. Pelvic bowl drops back. Heels come down. Good. Lift up. Now pull knees open. Pick up the belly. Roll shoulders open a little bit. Feel serratus. Then go the other way. Knees in, belly sucks back, heels come down. Good core control. Blocks forward, shift weight forward if you need to. Hips up and back. Good. All right. Keep the left heel there. Bend both knees, dropping chest. Try to straighten just the left leg. Think of your left hip hugging back further. Keep serratus pulling down in shoulders. Serratus pull shoulders down and put pressure in hands. Top of the head forward, belly lifts a little. Don't let your right ribs close and that right hip come to your ear. Keep it down. Then switch. Bend your left knee, start straightening your right leg. Roll to inner foot. How far back can that hip go? Then switch. Good. Switch slowly. Feel the rolling through the hips. Try to keep your low belly just the tiniest bit, or your middle abs, transverse abs, between the pelvic bowl and the ribs. The tiniest bit lifted, that means back of the neck long. Feel the whole spine filled in. If you keep the core just the tiniest bit engaged, as your hips roll back and forth, you'll start to feel the front of the hips separate more from the core, from the belly. Put a little extra pressure in your big toe on whichever leg is straightening and try to feel the low belly lift away from it more. So let's hold on the right leg. Keep right leg straight. Fan your toes out. Put a little pressure in big toe. Lift your low belly more. Drop your head. Hips back a little further, keeping that low belly pulling away from big toe. Opposition. And bend the knee. Straighten your left leg. Find your left big toe, left inner foot. Suck your left low belly further back without bringing right hip to ear. And then come back forward. Good job. Walk your blocks out in front. Step your right foot forward. Try to be a leg's length now, right off the block, off the back. If you want to measure that, I don't care if you measure it. Sit on your block, put your leg forward. That's how long you need to be, right? Leg's length. If you can't visualize it, measure it. Because when you go to sit back, it will not work unless you have that space, right? There's your leg's length. Okay. And go ahead and make your way back to standing. Heel on the block, other foot forward. Blocks are in front of the foot. Okay, so you got your legs length. You know you'll be able to get to that sitting back place, and you know you have a nice stance here. All right, let's roll your left hip forward. Just shifting weight into the right foot should be enough to do that. Keep top of head forward, chin up, shoulders are back, away from here. And then shift your weight back. Do that again. This time roll to the index knuckle of your left foot. Outer arch of your right foot, roll it forward. And then roll it back. 3 more like that. Roll it forward. Right hip pulls out to the right and back when you come forward. And then roll it back. Do it again. Think of outer spiraling right leg, like your groin's going to face forward. Hold. Keep that right hip out and back. Shoulders draw back a little. Top of the head forward. Think of your middle abs picking up out of the right hip. Move through the shoulder blades here a little. Pick your ribs up higher, pressing through the thumb knuckle of the hand. And then drop back down. Do that again. Pick the ribs up higher. Keep the belly lifted, then roll back. So you can have a little more space. Keep your right hip pulled under though. Even when you roll back, bend the back knee. Spread the toes out. Good. Maybe you can bring hands back and sit all the way back like you did on the other side. So if this is easy for you, maybe you can come to that vine. Body drops in front of the leg. You turn the palm to face the ceiling, hand comes to the hip. Right arm back, left hand would hold right wrist. Roll the shoulders back, left hand pulls the right back, pin the knee back. Top of the head forward. Good. And to come back, hands to the mat. Press with arms to help you get the beginning of the lift. Come back up. Good job, guys. There you go. Get back to your blocks. All right, let's go ahead and roll that left hip forward again. Roll to the outer arch of your right foot. Actually pick up the inner foot off the mat. Actively using outer foot. Perfect. Now drop the big toe forward, but keep the foot lifted. Yeah, that's hard for most people. Suck the belly back. Right hip back. Shoulders back, ribs forward. And then come back down to the inner arch of the right foot. Stay forward. See if you can shift into the foot. Come onto the toes of your left foot. Pick the left leg up. Good. Roll to inner right foot. Roll your left leg higher by rolling the hip up. Spread your left toes and roll left hip below the level of your right hip. Keep your right hip hugging back and heel and toes out, but then chest forward, ribs low. Do it again. Roll your left hip up. Roll to the inner arch of your right foot as you do it. Don't let your left foot go back to the left. That brings your right hip to your heel. Keep your left foot out left of center line. Roll your left hip down. Keep the toes reaching and spreading. One more. Roll the hip up. See if you can tip your chest forward. Drop your head down, bring hands to the floor behind the blocks. Open standing split. Can you drop your head so far down that you're going to start to look up your own body? Don't shrug the shoulders to ears to do that. Your neck doesn't pull you to the floor. Your serratus left shoulders up, and the rib cage all together comes down, bringing pelvic bowl with it. Tip hips back a little. And then slowly bring hands back to blocks. Drop left hip below the right. Keep left toes reaching long though. Left leg is still up. Hug your right hip back further. And then reach back for your block. Heel comes down. Good. Now lift your left toe or lift your left heel up. So toes are on the mat, heels off your block. Toes on the mat, heel off the block. And then bring your heel back down. Everything should be pretty awake here. Okay, let's one more time. Bend the back knee. Serratus, pull shoulders back, top of the head forward, belly sucking back. Right hip is under. So think of outer spiraling right leg and then sit back as long as you can. Lift the belly here, drop the head, breathe, and then reach. So right here actually, think about this humerus and the tailbone coming apart. Let space happen there. Pull back with that hip and bring it back up. Good, how are we at? Everybody's still alive. Okay, good. Walk your blocks back. Oh no, one more here. This is a good one. Keep your heel down. Lift your rib cage up, shoulder blades back to feel serratus. Top of the head forward, chin in your own neck. Lift your belly. See if you can push into your hands enough. Pick your ribs up enough and pick up that right leg. Low belly, low belly, low belly and hip. And then bring it back down. Drop chest into shoulder girdle. Top of head forward, head can hang if you can't figure out that long neck feeling. Try it again. Shoulders back away from ears from serratus. Pick your ribs up high in the shoulder girdle. Suck the belly up. Pick up the right foot. You can shift your left hip back a little if you need to do it. Breathe. And bring it back down. Good job. Walk the blocks back. Step your right foot back to the block. Straighten up your block if you lost it. Good. And then bend your knees, come all the way back down again. Should feel like a break now to come down. So right foot's off the front, left foot's off the side, just like we started in that L shape with your feet. L shape. Good. I feel size. Take a collective sigh here, see if you can find hands in prayer. Open your knees, lift your belly, inhale. As you exhale, draw knees in a little bit, suck the belly back, round your back, shoulder blades forward. Think of sliding elbows forward on the knees if they can touch each other. And go the other way, slide the elbows down in the knees, shoulder blades down, pick your belly up into that. Once you're high, see if you can bring your heels up off your block. One sitting bone on either heel. Different balance than we usually do. Good job, feet really working. And bring your heels back to the block. One more time, knees hug in, elbows slide forward, suck the belly back. Pick it back up from belly. Feel your belly lift inside the ribs first. Transverse abs inside the ribs. No arching back, no back lifting, no pulling. Then open knees a little, bring your heels up. Good. And then bring your heels back to your block when you're ready. Blocks out in front. Shift your weight forward. Take your hips up by pushing into hands. You want to put some weight into hands. Don't keep it all on the knees with that huge flexion there. Okay, good. Let's go ahead and step the right foot outside the block for a second. Flat back here, sitting bones open. Keep the toes, the ball of the foot in the mat. Try to lift and spread your toes. How far back can you bring your hips? See how far back you can take the hips behind the heels. Good. Keep the feet active. Maybe you can sit all the way down with hips way behind heels. If you're done with that, just stay in a flat back. If you get there, blocks forward. Head down, shoulder blades engaged enough like you're pulling back on your blocks. Low belly sucks the hips back further. And then bring it up. Bring your blocks back so you can lean into them, hips up and back. Okay? Take your right foot off the back of your block now. No, I have that backwards.
Yeah.
No, I don't. That's all right. Take your right foot off the back of your block. I'm right. Once in a while. All right. Keep that calf stretching. Bend the knee a little bit, drop the chest. And bring it back up. Bring your blocks back to the front of your purple block and step your right foot off the block. This is a new one. This is a little different because you got the left foot turned out still. But some people are feeling some things in the outer knee that need to be opened up. Okay, and that IT band coming down. All right, so both feet turned out, right? I think this would be fourth position. I don't know. I've never really danced. Okay, pick up your back foot onto the toes and see if you can sit back and bend both knees out to the sides equally. Okay, then bring the back heel down. Get up on top of it more. You're dying forward, sit back. Okay, stay back. Try to straighten the front leg a little more with that turnout. Keep your left heel hugging, or your left hip hugging back, right hip forward. Let's see if you can shift forward, right hip forward, left hip back, and then shift back. The legs straight now. Some of you need a little longer stance. It doesn't have to be a leg's length yet, but it looks like a little short for some of you.
I can't get this straight.
Then don't straighten it. That's because that means those tendons are too tight. Don't force your knee straight here. That won't feel good. Okay, roll the right hip forward. If your knee's a little bent, that's fine. Just keep the hip hugging back. And then roll the hip back. Okay, roll your right hip forward. Good, go ahead and bend that knee a little bit. Come on the toes of the back foot. Now wiggle it further back. Now get your legs length. Okay, and then we're going to pick up your left foot, bring it to the back of the block. Okay. All right, so I'm going to move forward. I'm off my mat. Migrating too long here. All right, so we've got the left heel off the back of the block. Your right foot is back. Heel turned in. Try to get a leg's length so that when we do transition, just sit back. You can get there. If it's too long for this stretch right now, shorten it, and we'll just lengthen it again later. Your back foot's down. Your heel's turned in. Your foot's about 45 degrees out. Okay. Roll all the way to the outer arch of your front foot. All the way. So actually look up here if you're not getting, lift your inner foot up. We're purposely actually signaling the front foot. Okay. And then bring right hip forward, left hip back. You can keep the knee bent too here to protect your knee. You should feel a lot in that outer lower leg coming up to the knee. Okay, then flatten the foot back out. Roll it back in your right hip. Think of lifting your inner right foot. Your toes kind of grab the mat like you're suctioning the mat up to the big inner arch of the foot. Lift your low belly up from that. Okay. And then go the other way. Think of rolling to the inner foot of the back foot and lifting outer foot. Then bring right hip forward, left hip back. Roll the outer left foot a lot. If you need to bend the front knee or if you just feel better in the stretch, go ahead. Get the knee wide though. If you're going to bend that left knee, it should bend out to the left. Yeah, guys feeling that outer lower leg? Good bit, right? Okay, bring the foot back down. You can roll to the inner left, but I'm not cueing that as much because it does encourage bringing that hip to the ear. So try not to bring hip to ear. Shift your weight back again. Good, let's take that hamstring stretch for a second and drop your head. I see some of you in the neck. This is great stuff for legs and hips, but if you keep your neck up, head up, you're going to feel your neck. All right, good, bring it back up. Spin onto the toes of the back foot. So your heel is going to lift up and then spin back, toes forward. Feet should be about hip width apart. Try not to be on the tightrope here. I probably should have said that earlier. Okay. Good, then go ahead and start bending the back knee. Okay? Bending the back knee, suck the belly back, ribs back. You can bring your blocks back a little bit if it helps you find a little more space there. Lift and spread the front toes a little bit and try to think big toe reaching forward. So it's almost like your pinky toe and big toe are trying to come down, other toes spanning in the middle. Keep the belly sucked back. Maybe you can sit all the way back and pick up that front foot. Okay. If that's easy, or if you want to try this, drop the back heel down, hands in prayer, suck the belly up, see if you can pick up the front foot. Good. Maybe you can lift the ribs. Sit down, huh? Okay. If you're there, slide back to your block. Use your hands if you need them, or use your blocks. So if you need to bring your blocks back because you feel like you're stuck, bring your blocks back, push with hands. So start with bent knees and really bend elbows, press up to get up a little bit, then come back forward. If you think you've got this and you're strong enough, you can use hands, pick it up, then bring it forward. Whatever gets you there safely. All right, good. How are we doing? Good. Keep that left heel on the mat. Fix your block if you lose it. Bend the front knee. Okay. Spread across your toes. Notice if your foot rolls out or in when you bend that knee. That's your body trying to avoid a stretch in whichever side of ankle and calf is tighter. If you're able to be here, shift your weight forward. See if you can bring the back knee in. Maybe you straighten the bottom leg a little. Maybe you need to keep it bent. Straighten the right leg back. Keep your right hip down below the left, but reach and fan the toes out of the right foot. Try to spread and fan your left toes as well. Good, now roll the right hip up, but don't let your left leg or your right leg go left. Keep it out to the right. Maybe you can bring your left hand to the ground, tip a little further, and find your half moon here. Think right leg right. Don't let it go left. Tent your left fingers, and maybe you can bring the arm up, finding your balance. Your balance comes from core here, right? So keep the core lifting, stay rolled to inner foot, feel foot and core connect, reach that back leg up as you drop pelvic bowl down, and then lengthen arms away from each other. Straight or bent bottom leg, whatever you need. Hands to your blocks if they're up, bring the right hip down. Good, let's keep the right hip lower than left and hug your left hip back, reach the right foot again in case you crunch that hip to ear. And then bring the foot down. Both heels off the back of your block. Bend both knees, sitting bones reach back. So think of your feet rolling to inner arch and then pulling your block apart to take the sitting bones apart. Try to bring your ribs down to the thighs. Maybe you can bring hands to the mat and drop your head. Drop your head, Veronica. Let that neck go. Thank you. There we go. Good. Shoulders wide. Pull your serratus back. Don't think shoulders up. Think shoulders wrapping back. Elbows back. Spread the toes. Try to put big toe down. Suck low belly back. Heels pulling that apart. Good. And bring your hands back to your blocks. Pushing the toes to come up onto the ball of the foot. Notice if you're sitting up, try to close and your hips try to pull into each other. Pull out on your feet. Go to the outer pinky toe and feel like your feet are trying to pull your block apart. Bend knees a little there, super awkward. And bring inner feet back together. Drop your right heel toward the mat. When the heel touches, release the hip, drop the ribs. Push into toes to come back up. Bend your left heel, or straighten your left leg. Bring your left heel to the mat. Let the hip release when you get there. And bring it back up. Good. Try to slowly lower both. Bend the knees one last time. Good. Bring it back up. And step to the front of the block. Just going to finish by counter stretching in toes a little. Tuck your toes under, right here in place. So pick the foot up, tuck toes under. Put your toes on the ground, heel on the block. And do the other side. Make sure you have a distance between your foot and the block so there's room for the top of the foot to be there. Heels, step forward. Maybe you can bend the knees here, drop chest and the shoulder girdle and roll through hips. If it's not going to happen, don't worry about it. When you drop a leg back, you're going to feel a lot of stretch in the top of the leg, top of the foot. Maybe just hold one side at a time. When you're done with this, you bring your toes out of it, stretch them out, and then bring them down. Reverse the stretch, bring your heels forward, knees in, sitting bones back, chest dropping. See if you can sit all the way on your heels like that. Like now, that should actually feel good. Whereas this is usually a place where you guys want to get out of. All right, how are we doing? Feet away, to say the least. Okay? Think of bringing your heels an inch apart so your inner foot is parallel. Inner feet are parallel to each other. Sitting bones are still sitting on the heels. Low belly lifts out of pelvic bowl. It doesn't just suck back. There's an up to it. Underneath, open ribs. Don't close ribs hard. Knees hug in and see if you can find your prayer. Elbows wide. Push your thumb knuckles, these bottom two thumb knuckles, right by wrist and base of thumb, into each other to engage chest. Then lift core up. Elbows wide and forward. Back of the neck long, top of the head to ceiling. Breathe. And bring hands to your blocks. Lift hips up and back. Move your purple block. Really good job. How are we doing? Okay. All right. Let's step your right foot forward outside the block. Wiggle left toes back. Turn your right toes out. Keep your back leg strong. Your back foot should be very awake. Drop your left hip forward, right hip back. Bring the chest longer forward. Bend the right knee a little bit. Keep opening your right knee further. Now pick your left hip up just a touch. Don't let your left hip drop as far forward. Pick it up a little. Yeah, so left hip a little up. So even with right. Then bend right knee wider as you come forward. Open the knee. Feel the last three toes. Really grab the mat. Elbows hug in. Shoulders pull back. Elbows pull back. Top of the head forward. Belly lifting. Hold. And then drop deeper into that stretch. Try to put the left top of the leg near the ground. Good. And then bring it back up again. Okay, from here, press into the index knuckle of the front foot. Roll the left hip open. Pick your belly up, ribs up, top of the head forward. And then roll left hip forward, right hip back, staying right. Drop chest into shoulder girdle. Bend the front knee a little and hold. Now pick your left hip up a touch. Bend the right knee wider. Sit down like that. Stay long. Keep that left hip a little bit picked up. And put the back knee down. Good. If you're deep here, bring your left block to you. Maybe put forearm on the block. Maybe you're with straight arm on the block. You can stiff arm it. Let the belly hang. Let the hip hang. Ribs hang out of the shoulder blade. If you don't feel a stretch in your psoas there, and these muscles running long between rib cage and pelvis, you can go deeper. Take the knee further back, elbow on your block, and maybe you can pull that back a bit in. And breathe wherever you're at. Keep hanging left hip into the stretch. Hang on. You're right. You're right. You're trying to stretch this hip. But your hips haven't dropped into a dip yet, so I would put you back up here and really let that hip hang down out of the rib cage. There you go. Feel that hanging sensation there? That's better. You only go here if you're ready to go deeper. Pull back. Okay. Breathe. Open the knee. Your hips should feel like they're going toward the right heel, not pulling away. Open the right knee. Hips go toward that right heel. Perfect. Let it go wherever you're at. Bring your blocks under your shoulders. Tuck the back toes to pick it up. Heel toe your left foot. Now this is your right foot. Your front foot. Heel toe your front foot inside the block. Keep your back leg straight and strong. If you look back at your feet, they're not on a tight rope. They would be hip width apart. If you brought them together, they'd be hip width. Okay? Keep back leg strong, straighten front leg. To whatever open. Roll your left hip forward. Bend the right knee. Think of your chest going forward. So shoulder blades pull back a little bit. Your hands are pulling the blocks back from underneath the armpits. Lengthen the ribs forward. Bend the front knee. Keep your back leg strong. From heel to head is one straight line. And then drop your hips lower. Good. See how low you can drop? See if you can be standing in that front leg this deep. Breathe. Back heel pulls back a little. Back foot strong. Nice. Put your back knee down. Good job. Roll over the tops of your back toes. How are we doing? Working, right? But stretching too. Everybody's just squeezing everything close. Right hand pushes the leg a little forward and a little in. Lift the belly just a touch. Bring your left elbow across. Right hand into prayer if you can get there. Drop your hips back into it. Do not stay back here. All that's doing is putting a ton of weight over this knee, and it's not stretching the back leg at all. If you don't feel a stretch in the front of the left hip, you're not there. Lean forward. Hold the front foot back. Whatever you have to think of. Let your left shoulder come to your ear if you need to open up that bottom side more. Keep your back heel in. Don't let it sickle out to the side. Right hand then pushes into the left to bring your ribs up into that twist a little bit more. Shoulders are down, serratus are engaged. Suck the belly up out of the pelvic bowl. Keep left hip forward. Roll to inner arch of right foot. Think of groin muscles pulling toward each other to lift low belly more. Chin in, top of the head long. Don't twist from your neck. And bring it back down. There you go. Tuck the back toes. Pick it up and back. High plank. Step your foot back. Good. Try to find a 90-degree angle on the foot. So heels right above the ball of the feet. Inner feet in. Suck the belly up. Pick your rib cage up. Hold for one breath. When you're done, bring left foot forward. Inhale. Exhale. Serratus down the body. Down to the mat. Belly picking up. Pick your left knee up. Turn it out. Step it forward. Outside the block. I should have said that. Outside the block. Sorry. Good. Left foot's turned out at about a 45-degree angle, but not past where the knee can open. So you don't want your foot turned all the way out, put your knee forward in front of it. That doesn't work, okay? The knee has to be able to go outside where the foot is. So your knee tracks behind the toes a little bit, okay? Keep the back leg strong. You can straighten front leg if you have that hamstring stretch, hip stretch. Roll the right hip back by rolling to inner left foot and pushing with left leg a little. Then roll right hip forward, think inner spiral back leg, outer spiral front leg. Left hip open to the left. Don't sit right, stay left. And then roll it open again. Two more. Roll that left hip back, right hip forward. Shoulders back, chest forward. Stay long from your right heel to the top of the head, belly lifted. Roll it open again. One more time. Roll left hip back, right hip forward. Stay long. Bend the front knee. Drop left hip, pick your right hip up a little. Bend left knee wider. Sit down deep into that, elbows hug in. Serratus are down, belly picks up. Don't let any part of the body die, or something feels a lot of pressure and this gets hard. Pick it back up again. Good. One more time. Roll that back hip open. The front hip is the active hip for that. Okay. Then inner spiral back leg, outer spiral front leg, right hip dropping, stay left. And then start bending left knee. Stop. Pick up right hip a little, bend left knee further left, drop into that. Feel like your groin muscles go apart, knees go apart, sitting bones go apart. Good. Put the back foot down. How we doing? Okay, you can put your right block right under the shoulder and just stiff arm. The left arm's not doing anything. Don't give a rest on the knee. And let the hip and ribs hang. Your right shoulder blade will get driven up to the ceiling, so the shoulder will be close to the ear, but it's not neck engagement, so it's fine. It's gravity pulling hip and ribs down, which is creating that hanging feeling in the psoas. Or it should be. You can roll over the toes. That'll deepen it. You can push in the top of the foot a little. If you want to go deeper, that's not enough. Bring your forearm to your block. Let your hip drop more. Keep the left knee open. And if you're on your quad enough, you can bend the back leg up. Hips go left. Open the left hip. Open the left knee. You can pull the foot in as much as you want or need to feel a stretch. If you have your foot pulled in with your hips piped back, no. All your weight's above the knee, and now you're just putting pressure on the knee, and the hip is trying to pull close against the stretch. That doesn't work. So you've got to be all the way here with this released into the stretch before you deepen it. If that makes any sense. Wherever you're at, find your breath again. Down there, anybody breathing. Panting maybe, breathing not so much. Calm, slow breath. All right. Let's come out of that. Take it back, tuck the toes. Blocks under shoulders if you lost it. Push into the back leg. Pull the front foot back a touch. Heel toe it in. So lift your left block, heel toe the left foot. I got that right. It's your left foot. Your front foot, heel toes in. If your feet were on the same plane, they would be hip width apart. Okay, they're not. They're further back, or they're separated, but if you look at them, hip width. All right? Back leg strong, back heel high, foot really grabbing the mat. Sometimes in your yoga class you're sliding because the room's 85 degrees in some studios, but other times it's because your foot's a little dead fish back there. No dead fish feet. Okay, roll the hips open. So your hips are going to try to face right. That comes from the left leg, feeling like it's pressing from the hip through the floor, and the right hip rolling up behind the left. Then roll right leg in, inner spiral right leg. Right hip comes forward, like left, right frontal hip comes to left groin. Okay, then bend the front knee a bit, keeping right hip forward and long. Reach through the leg. Heel doesn't drop behind the toes, but you keep the foot engaged so you're reaching. Then shoulders back, top of head forward, middle abs lift. Be long and strong from heel to head, one line of energy. And start bending that front knee. Dropping the back hip. When you're ready to, you can bend elbows to deepen it. See how low you can go without losing that back foot. It's working. Don't die anywhere. If anything goes like, I don't want to be here, something's not active. Pick it up. Put the back knee down. Roll over the toes. Good job. Everybody's alive. Pull back on the mat with the front foot. Use your left hand, push the thigh across the body. Right elbow across to the knee if you can get there. Now here's where if your feet are really wide, wider than hip width, this actually becomes harder. You've deepened your twist, right? Okay, stay forward. Think of that front foot pulling back on the mat. So pull your right hip forward. Right shoulder can even climb up to your ear a little. I don't even care where it comes from. I want mitts to open, serratus and hip to open. Then left hand presses into right to pick the ribs up into the twist. Suck the belly back still. Knees hugging a little, low belly lifting. Good. Find your breath if you don't have it. Chin is in, neck is long. Good. And then come back to center. Tuck the back toes. We skipped it earlier. See if you can find it here. Can you find balance this week? Good job. All right, pick the hips back up. Step it back. Good, and then roll over the toes for your knees down. How we doing?
We're done with
Good.
hips, aren't we?
Huh?
We're done with hips. What about the neck?
We need to do neck. Because you're probably all in your neck. All right, get your orange bolster. And somebody asked me if you don't have a bolster at home, what should you use? You guys use blocks, I think. I mean, the real point of what we do with this is to get your head to drop behind the plane of the arms. So you really could use your blocks to do what we're about to do. If you've done it before, you know what I'm talking about. But we're going to put elbows on the bolster. It's nice because it's soft. The cork blocks aren't that hard. So if that's all you have at home and you want to do this, I mean, you can do it. It's just, it's hard. I mean, you can put a blanket over it or whatever, but you can, or if you have foam blocks, you know. And if your blocks are a little lower, like the 3-inch block, that may even be better if your shoulders and neck are really tight. Okay, because the more what we're going to do is put the elbows on the bolster, knees back, toes tucked, and we're going to try to use the serratus to make space and drop the head back behind the plane of the arms. As soon as your head drops behind the arm here, you're starting to get a pretty big shoulder stretch. You cannot resist this outer spiral in the arms that has to happen. If you are trying to spiral your arms that way against this stretch, you're actually going to try to flex exactly some of the muscles we're stretching, the shoulders and the neck. So you have to let the arms spiral that way through the glenohumeral joint so that your biceps stays toward the ceiling or even out to the side. You can't resist that. You will start tweaking the little rotators in the shoulders, so the deep muscles inside the shoulder will get very unhappy. Okay, so you could use blocks. Maybe you'd even rather it because they're really firm, but I don't because I do it all day. So let's use the bolster. Elbows on top. Let's keep toes tucked unless your feet are just done. But if you keep the feet a little engaged, you'll find a little bit more of your low belly can engage. Again, if your feet are done, it's not good. All right. Palms together. Make really wide hands. And these two thumb knuckles are really important in trying to engage pecs. Those bottom ones by the wrist and by the base of the thumb. Okay. Press those into each each other. Feel how that helps you engage your chest. At the same time, push your elbows a little to pick ribs up inside the shoulder girdle, inside serratus. Okay, keep that inward pressure in the thumbs. Spread all the knuckles against each other. Fingertips almost feel like they're going to pull apart, but the rest of the fingers and knuckles are together. Elbows pull your bolster sideways, apart. Drop the chin. Don't think of reaching chin to the ground. Think of bringing the chin up into the throat, top of the head folding down. So spine's filled in, one long arc with no breaks in it. Pick your middle belly up a little bit by pressing through elbows. Think of your knees pulling the mat apart. Knees should be together, by the way. I hope I said that. Knees pull the mat apart. Big toes press softly into the mat top and pick low belly up more. Feet pull the mat apart. Elbows pull the mat apart. Hands pull in. And bring heels back in. Keep lifting low belly. Start dropping back like that. See if you can fit your head past your bolster, past your upper arms. Maybe walk elbows a little further forward on bolster, maybe a little closer together. That deepens the stretch. Okay? Don't resist the outer spiral. Soft pressure in thumb knuckles, but then spread fingers. Put some pressure in pinky knuckle now. And then let your hips reach further back. Keep dropping the head back. Breathe. Keep hips releasing deeper. Two more breaths. Hips should be happy to lengthen back now. Let them. You should feel a lot of length in the side body. From your hips all the way to elbows, maybe even to pinkies. Okay. Now, think of pressing down in the big toes to lift low belly a little. That's almost imperceptible. Think of pressing down in elbows and pulling the mat apart with elbows, thumbs pressing into engaged chest. Pick up your core. Round. Keep the thumbs pressing in, pinkies pressing in, elbows pull apart. See if you can let the shoulders, well, first try to shrug them. It won't happen much. Then pull them back. Let your head drop deeper. Try to see if you can put a little pressure into the knees to bring it forward and put the back of the head against your bolster. Pinning the head back to bend the head, bend the neck a little bit deeper into a neck stretch. Be careful. Don't overdo that. Okay, still stretching your necks. Breathe. A little pressure from toes, a little pressure from knees, but no tucked hips. Don't tuck the hips. Keep the pubic bone back, pelvic bowl level.
So biceps are trying to go to the ceiling?
Yeah, let them roll. Just don't resist the roll. It's going to happen the way your hands are oriented. Just don't resist that. Let your elbows hug in a little bit for a minute. Bring your hands up to the thoracic spine. Okay, you can walk elbows forward if you don't have a good enough grip on your bolster or if you need a bigger stretch. Once hands are there, then let hips reach back again. Breathe. As you exhale, try to feel knees pull mat apart. Sitting bones come apart. The bones right at the base of the buttocks open. And then press hands together. Really spread fingers. Elbows pull in for a second. Drop the head deeper. And then elbows pull apart again. Reach the hips back more. Okay, round it up. Pick up hips, pick up ribs. Push through elbows. Hands press into each other to engage chest a little bit where collarbone is. And drop your head back deeper. Let your hips reach back further again. How are we doing? One more. Pick up your hips, pick up your ribs, push through knees, suck the belly up. Think of shrugging shoulders up. Hands really pressing in. Then pull shoulders back. Drop head deeper toward the mat. And then let your hips release all the way back. Good. Either sit back in a child's pose, or if you want to stay with me here, press through elbows. Pick the belly up, and then see if you can press through your feet to pick hips up, and walk feet in until heels are down. So you're in dolphin. If nobody's taking, no worries. If you want to do it, hips up and back. Good. Breathe wherever you're at. If you're just in child pose at this point, that's fine. Try to put your head in the back of the pillow if you're still in one of the shapes. And push forward just a little bit with your body. Soft neck stretch. If you're in the air, slowly bring the knees down. And then sit all the way back. Good. Let your hands come forward. Head comes back up through the arms. You should feel a lot in chest, shoulders, neck. How are we doing? Okay? Alright, hands hold the bolster wider. Put your head on the mat right where the bolster meets the floor. Elbows hug around the edges of your bolster. And then try to pull the bolster into the head, roll forward to the top of the head. Shoulders lift up and back. Elbows try to drop down into bolster a little bit to widen across the back of the neck. Breathe. Let your hips release back, knees pull them out apart. Knees are what helping you push forward. And then roll heavy on your head, all the way back to forehead, hands still hold the bolster. How far back can your hips sit? Rolling back to forehead. Shoulders wide, elbows still softly deep. And then when you're ready, come back up. Good. How are we doing?
Good.
No worries? Alright, let's do little hands here. Turn your hands backwards on your bolster. Take feet wider than knees. So you're creating soft internal rotation in the femur and the hip joint. Okay. Shoulders pull back from the serratus. Put a little bend in your elbows. If you can't bend your elbows, you have too big a stretch in your hands. Keep that little bend in your elbows. Try to drop the chest a little deeper. Drop the pelvic bowl. Sitting bones reach apart. Knees pull them out apart. Soft. And go the other way. Push into your hands, especially knuckles. Spread fingers. Suck the belly up. Spread the shoulder blades. Drop your head. Lift your low belly. Knees hug in. Tops of the feet into the mat. Heels roll out more. So think toes in, heels out. Lift your low belly more. Drop your head. Go the other way. Let that go. Pubic bone reaching back. Shoulders draw back. Dip the ribs into shoulder girdle deeper. Little bend in elbows. Okay, one more time. Roll your heels out first this time. Heels roll out. Knees hug in. Lift your belly out of the front of the hips. Lift your ribs out of the shoulder blades. Serratus pulling back. Top of the head forward. Chin into your own throat. Try to lift more to spread back more. Breathe. Exhaling, lifting up. And then go the other way slowly. Hands pull your bolster apart. Knees pull them out apart. Heels hug in. Pubic bone starts reaching back. Belly to the ground. Ribs to the ground. Shoulder blades slide together. Top of the head forward and down. Good. Then bring it to neutral. So just pick the ribs up. Slide your left finger or your right fingers forward on the block so they're about halfway up the bolster or block, wherever you're back. And then bend the fingers back. Elbow back. See if you can roll forward through that a little. And then roll back out of it. So now you're trying to make the angle happen here. So you're stretching the hand more than the wrist. Roll forward, roll back. Now flip that hand over so your palm faces you. Bring the back of the hand onto your bolster. Thumb to pinky spread. And then outer spiral of the arms. Your biceps going to face forward. It can start with just elbow hugging in and back. Shoulder rolls back. Maybe you can spiral to the rest of the elbow. Breathe. Does it feel good?
No.
Wow.
Big stretch.
Yeah.
Okay, make sure your hips are letting go.
Yeah.
All right, roll out of it. One quick counter stretch, bending fingers back. Roll it back. Come to knuckles with your thumb forward and don't squish the fingers in. Keep them flat. Keep your wrist straight and strong there. Other hand. Bend the knuckles back. Come halfway forward. Okay, so now it's in the hand. This isn't in your wrist so much. Your wrist is straight. Now it's in your hand. And roll forward to the wrist. Roll back to the hand. Come on out of it slow. Fist and open. Turn your palm to face you. Back of the hand in your bolster. If you think it was going to be too much, put it across the base of the bolster more so the angle on the wrist is less. Okay? You want more, go forward. Outer spiral of the arms. So keep the elbow bent. Hug your elbow back. That starts the rotation. And roll your shoulder out of the way. And finish rolling through the wrist. Spread the fingers. It's a big counter stretch. Okay, roll it back. Flip your fingers backwards. One quick counter stretch from that. And come to knuckles. All right, flatten out the hands. Good. Pull back with your shoulders. Good. And come to mat with hands. All right, how are we doing? Good. Those are big stretches in the hands. Let's turn around, face the other way. Bring your bolster around to put it under your legs. And we're going to do a little bit of shoulders here. Then we're gonna lay down. Alright, so make sure your blocks are even with each other and to the edge of the mat, assuming you're sitting in the middle of the mat. Okay, and then hands back, fingers facing forward. Okay, bring your bolster to you. See if you can bring your hips to your bolster. Your bolster back even a little further. If you don't want to go deeper and you want to do this the regular way, then do this just sitting on the floor. Roll your shoulders forward first. Push through the knuckles, spread your fingers out. Once your shoulders are rolled forward, bend elbows back and out to the sides without letting shoulders go back with elbows. Then you're just going into your neck. Keep downward pressure in the hands, elbows wide, suck the belly back like you're trying to let pelvic bowl hang to the floor, ribs hang back. Now if your shoulders go back past your elbows, now that's not it, you're just getting arm work. So you have to have your hips far enough forward and your shoulders in front of elbows. So when you bend elbows, they're coming over wrists, not behind wrists. Okay? Suck the belly back, knees in a little bit. Let's heel toe feet out. Lift your outer feet, drop your knees in so they'll rest. Suck the belly back out of the knees, reach knees in and forward. Reach shoulders forward, suck ribs back, opposition. You guys feel that shoulder stretch in front of shoulders? Yeah? Okay, lean over to the right side. Really bend the right elbow. Right shoulder back, or right elbow out to the side. Drop your right knee in and across, reach it forward. Right knee comes to midline and reaches forward. If you want to go deeper, you can cross left leg over that. Add weight to your twist.
So what's the purpose of being on the bolster as opposed to being on the floor? Makes it harder? Or?
It should deepen the stretch and help you feel the hips a lot easier. You should be able to hang back into that rounded spine shape a little bit better with the tailbone up higher and pelvic bowl dropping off the back of the bolster. So if you're just on the mat, you can create the shape, but you don't have gravity helping you as much. At some point your low back will touch the mat and that's the end of it. If you're on the bolster, you can get more round in the spine, gravity helping hang pelvic bowl down more without having to lift your butt off the ground.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so if you're not feeling the right angle, you probably don't have the right dimensions in the posture. So start again. Sit on the bolster and take your hands to the floor. Start with that. Tailbone should be able, or pelvic bowl should be able to come behind the bolster. Almost like you're going to slide off the back of the bolster, just like we do on the blocks, right? Okay? That helps tip your pelvic bowl. Now gravity's helping you. You don't have to try, and if you guys like to use your hips to do that, now you don't need to and don't get to. Okay? Then the shoulders roll forward, suck the belly back, elbows bend back. Now I'm a little too short here. See how my elbows are going to pass my hands? Now I just feel straining my arms maybe a little bit, not as much shoulder stretch. When your hands are on the blocks, shoulders rolling forward, elbows wide, you get the shoulder stretch back, you get the ribs to hang back as shoulders roll forward, shin in.
Well, I think you hit it. I'm trying to use my hips and this won't
You're
allow
trying
me
to
to.
use your hips, yeah.
Oh, God.
Alright, if you're done, you're done. Better roll your shoulders back, push through your hands as much as you can, roll the hips forward. That's it. And then roll shoulders forward, belly back, ribs back. Bend your elbows without letting shoulders roll back. That is huge. That's your opposition. Okay, if you want to switch to hands facing back, you can do that now. Bend elbows, or roll shoulders forward, bend elbows back, suck the belly back. If you're done, you're done. Roll the shoulders back, roll forward, press through the arms, and roll forward. Alright, hands to the mat. Hips behind the bolster, bolster under the legs. Let's take your cord block to the top of the mat. Red ball under your upper back. You could use 2 blocks for this, but it's a lot less comfortable. It would be a block sideways, either long way or second level. And then you move that. The ball just feels better because it's ground. And let your head lay on the ball. Okay, you should be in a place on your ball, and when you want to move on the ball, it's better to just lift the hips and roll on the ball. If you need your spine to be higher, you just roll back a little bit. Shoulders should be able to drop down behind your rib ball, like they're sliding down the slope of that ball that's under your spine. Then pull your bolster close but not touching you. Bring your tailbone under so your low back is not arched. It's actually flat and even almost trying to round, then put legs over bolster. So you've got upper back bending, but low belly, helping keep low back rounded. Arms up, chin down, neck long. Drop your arms back behind you. You should feel a neck stretch here. Keep dropping chin in. If you want to add some weight to that, you can hold on to your purple balls or another block or something to help the hands be heavier, putting a little bit more weight into that stretch. Your block should be right at the base of the skull, tipping the chin down, neck down. Let the ribs open up here. Feel them stand out. Keep the low belly drawn or you'll go into your low back. Find your breath. One more breath. Okay. Inner spiral your legs. Reach through the toes. Toes go out to the sides. So your pinky toes are trying to pull out while your legs roll in. They're working against each other. Then pull ribs down into your ball a little and see if you can pick the hips up with ribs pulling into the ball. No glute squeeze, no low back, hips off the floor. Then roll your legs out, let your hips drop again. Let your ribs open and release. Pull the ball back up or the hands back up from serratus. Don't try to lift the arms to the ceiling. Good, now we go to low back. So everybody release.
Yep.
Inhale here. Exhaling, drop the ball back, release chin down, almost pushing chin down. As your ribs flare open, your low belly draws a little to come out of the front of the hips and bring tail under. More of your back wrapping in the red ball. And then bring your arms back up. Okay. Keep the ball or your hands right above your head. If you're holding the ball, squeeze it a little and pull apart on it to pull across the back of the shoulders. If not, you can interlace fingers, make your little yoga mat and pull apart on that. Okay? Then, keeping that right above your forehead, sternum into red ball, slide shoulder blades up. There should be no tucking in hips here. Bring your ball forward, keep pulling it apart, keep the chest engaged, collarbone folds in half. Then middle abs drop, pubic bone is forward, no tucking. Bring just your head up. Stay leaning into your ball. This on a block does not feel so good. Slide your shoulder blades forward. Suck your middle abs back. No tucking. Stay leaning into your red ball. And then just slide your shoulder blades back. That's all that's moving. Spine isn't. Slide shoulder blades forward. Chin in, top of the head forward. Middle abs back. And then slide shoulders back and lay over your ball. And bring the ball back. Drop the ball if you've got one. Bring your hands to your head. Bring your head off your block. Move that out of the way. Elbows forward. Interlace fingers. Clamp them on your head. Pull the head forward, but keep dropping chin back into your hands. So there's opposition there. Shoulder blades are pulling the elbows forward, which puts pressure from hands to head, but then chin back, head pressing into hands. See if you can lay back like that with the back of the neck trying to go flat. Ribs open. And then just bring the head up first. Don't close ribs. So your serratus, pull shoulder blades into your ball. Then roll up, round and forward. Keep stretching neck by pulling the head soft. Suck the belly back. Don't tuck hips. Good. Push your bolster forward. About a foot. Hop the hips forward. About a foot. How are we doing? Good in low back. Okay. Hands behind head again. Clamp the base of the hands in on your head. It almost feels like the fingers are trying to pull apart, but they're holding on to each other. That should help you engage hands, especially the non-dominant hand, and it should help you engage serratus. If your serratus pulled forward, the traps in the back of the neck get pulled wide and around and long. Chin back into your hands, head almost pushing back from chin, neck back. Hands are high, so you feel like your neck is dropping behind your hands. Serratus are forward, shoulder blades down into red ball. Not back into neck, but down into red ball. Let your legs go. Drop back with the neck. Ribs open, that's what gives you space to drop back. Head heavy in your hands. Let the ribs flare. Once you're there, you can reach elbows back and let the upper spine round around the ball a little further. Then shoulder blades come down to the ball. Serratus engaged to pull just your head. Ribs stay open. Don't close ribs. Don't tuck core. Just head comes up. Serratus pull hands to the head. Head is back. Head is in hands. Once you're up in middle abs draw, your ribs come down, but reaching forward once you're there, suck belly back, pubic bone is forward, neck stretching, chin in, top of the head long. Good, and let that go. Push your bolster all the way forward. Roll until the ball is only under the head and neck, literally. And your eyes are very decidedly facing forward. You could not look at the ceiling mirrors if you wanted to. And then legs over the bolster. Either use your purple ball or hands in the interlaced position. Make your little gun shape, whatever you think of that as. Outer spiral the arms so biceps face you. Shoulder blades are down. They should be able to touch the mat. Okay? You should be able to push into the head and pick up the ribs. Okay. Shoulder blades down. Now drop the arms back. Slide biceps along red ball. You're trying to get your biceps behind your head as far as you can. Push into the neck a little to open and flare ribs. Keep pubic bone soft. Don't arch the back to do that. Just push in the head. Suck belly to bring low back to mat, but upper ribs off the mat. Should be a pretty decent neck stretch. Breathe. And pull your hands into the ball. Pull the ball into your head. Elbows wide to the mat. Try to drop chin deeper. Suck the low belly so you don't lose your low back. And roll the legs in. Reach through the toes. Spread the toes out. Roll your legs back out. Release legs. Release hips. See if they were helping. Good. Reach the arms back long again. Try to squeeze biceps in on your red ball. And then you can bring arms up and get the red ball out from under the head. How are we doing? Okay. Bring your bolster up to the hips. Hips on top of the bolster. When you come up, if your toes lift in, no, you're squeezing your glutes to lift hips. Instead, low belly draws, glutes stay soft, feet push. And then pull your bolster under hips. Bring the hips back down. Shoulders wide. If you prefer to have the red ball still under the head, I guess we could have left it there. That just gives you a deeper stretch in the neck when you do this. Alright, arms up, shoulders apart, chin down. We're just going to end with a happy baby on the bolster, and then we're going to lay flat. Okay, arms inside the legs, hands under the heels. Turn the feet out a little bit. Good. Think of your heels as reaching up into hands. Your calves connect with forearms. Wrists should be straight, so turn your feet out enough so your wrists are straight. You should not take this in your wrist. Rock over to the left. Left leg coming more to the mat, and then drop your right leg forward, right arm back. Reach, breathe. Reach through the big toe. Really spread and fan your right toes and your left toes, and try to feel your big toe reach long and forward, out of the psoas, out of the low belly. Right palm faces your midline, right leg is right on midline. Feel those reach apart on that line. Left foot does not collapse forward, hyperextend your elbow. It stays up, elbow bent, knee open. Breathe. Left elbow can pin the left knee open a little to give you more leverage to reach. And bring right arm up, soften left rib, soften back ribs into the mat. Keep the right toes reaching, but softer. And bring your right leg back. Arm inside the leg, hand under the heel. Let go of the left leg, tip right before you lengthen left leg forward. When you lengthen left leg forward, bring it to the ground, and then try to slide it out as low as you can until it lifts and hovers. Spread and fan your toes. Left big toe reaching, right toes fan, right foot active, but hip release. You can pull down from your serratus on the right side, maybe a little bicep, not just hand and wrist. Left palm is in, left big toe is on midline, and they pull apart. Breathe. Bring your left arm straight up to the ceiling. Let your ribs drop into the mat. Soften that right side. Don't let those right ribs close up anymore. Right shoulder up and forward if they were. Chin down. And bring the left leg back. Good job. You can reach into a split here if you want a little bigger stretch, or you can just stay in that happy baby shape. Heels reach into hands. Hands pull hips forward, groin forward. Breathe. Ribs are open here, so pelvic bowl can drop back. Iliacus muscles in the back of the pelvic bowl release. And bring it in. Good. Hands hold the knees. If you're ready for corpse, you can go to that. Otherwise, stay with me for one more. Hands hold knees. Knees drop forward into hands. Feel the whole way to your low body in your hands. It pulls your serratus and your shoulder blades down the line. If I let go, my feet drop. Roll your shoulders back, ribs open. You can walk shoulders under you a little. Inhale. As you exhale, feel your ribs drop back down. That gives more length in the spine for your hips to drop longer forward, heavier in your hands. And one more inhale, roll back. Exhale, drop in. And bring the knees in. Very good. One foot at a time to the mat. Press the mat down. And see if you can bring it all the way down. You can put it on the calves if you want for your core exposed, or you can get rid of it if you don't like it. Okay, let's take one more breath here. Inhale, arms up and back. Let your ribs flare open. Feel if shoulder blades stay in the mat when arms drop back and stay released. Ribs will open up and over shoulder blades. And feel low belly pull a little bit to anchor low back down. Stretch like that. Inhale. Hold that air in. Low belly sinks deeper, sitting bones are open. And then exhale, let everything go. Alright, whatever shape you want for your final resting pose. Maybe it's hands by your sides, palms face up, maybe it's hands overhead. Take a long, slow breath in. Let the eyes roll into the back of the head and the middle of the forehead. The third eyelids. Release the facial muscles in head, neck. Release your jaw. Let it feel spreading across the brow and across the bridge of the nose, between the ears and the base of the skull, and across the base of the tongue. Let everything go.